Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest EP from Cryptosis, The Silent Call, out December 1st on Century Media Records. This EP has 4 tracks, 19 minutes in length, and this is the band's first EP second release overall. They are a Dutch progressive thrash metal band. Now before I dive deeper into these songs, I want to give you a quick overview of what to expect. Out of the 4 tracks, you're going to have a brand new song, The Silent Call, the opening track, the title track, and that is followed by Master of Life, a song that was put together at the time of Bionic Swarm, their debut record, but it didn't make the cut of that album, and fans are going to get a chance to listen to it for the first time now in this EP. And then you have 2 live songs, both recorded live in Athens, and both from their debut album. So I think there's enough here to really keep the listener connected, keep the listener engaged, and make this a very interesting release. In my opinion, it checks a lot of different boxes. Perhaps the most important of them are the fact that you feel a sense of connection between the debut album and eventually will become the sophomore. We live in a time where people have short attention span. There's a lot of music out there, a lot of bands releasing a lot of material. It's easy to become forgotten. Releasing an EP like this allows you to better connect the dots between albums and keeps you alive and well with the algorithms, and it keeps you connected with the fan base. Outside of that, I also like the fact that this record obviously has the DNA sound that we saw in Bionic Swarm, but we also see some changes and some evolution, specifically with a brand new song, The Silent Call. So there's a connection with the past, but there's also some doors that open into the future. And the last of the check boxes, in my humble opinion, is the production level that I saw with Bionic Swarm continues now with this EP. Really high level production, not necessarily overproduced. I don't like albums that have that feeling, becomes a little bit too plastic. It loses a little bit of its organic material, and this EP doesn't lose that. And then when you add 2 live tracks, you're definitely adding an organic vibe to the way everything comes together, because you have the noise from the audience, you have that raw sound that comes from the audience during a live performance. So that definitely injects a little bit of a more natural atmosphere to the overall release. And you have 2 songs that are really well crafted, really well put together, with a lot of differences but still a lot of similarities, but always with that great production behind it. So these 3 different check boxes are, to me, the 3 most important ones that this EP definitely achieves right from the get-go. Now let's talk a little bit more about the song, starting off with The Silent Call, the new song. This track surprised me because it feels like they're going in a new direction but still holding on to the past. And what I mean by that is that this is not an overly progressive song, and it's definitely not an overly thrashy sounding song. It has more elements of melodic death metal and even atmospheric black metal. Those become a little bit more predominant in the overall evolution of the track and in how the sound comes across. Now there's still some progressive elements in it, but it's not as defined as it is, for example, in Master of Life. This is a song that starts off with some atmospheric elements, like I said, that almost pushing a black metal atmospheric vibe into the forefront. A track that has great guitar sound, from the more melodic side to the heavier, thicker side, where you perhaps start to see some of that thrash metal coming through in those thicker guitar riffs, and then disappearing a little bit more once it becomes more melodic, pushing more the envelope into a melodic death metal sound. But it's a track that opens a lot of doors sonically. It's a track that breathes really well, and because of the melody that it has, specifically when it hits the chorus, it becomes a very hooky and catchy song. Very, very memorable all around, and I think it's a great addition to their repertoire, having a song like this that doesn't feel as congested, that doesn't feel overly technical, overly progressive, that allows you to see a little bit more of the melodic, heavier side of the band, and still pushing some interesting elements, and perhaps giving a little bit more emphasis to the atmospheric side that it's really present in this song, more so than any other that I've heard from them. It's still a very aggressive and still very rugged track with great vocals that really complement the overall aggression that the song has. Then you have Master of Life, a song, like I said, like didn't make the album, it didn't make Bionic Swarm, their debut record, but I'm glad that they found room for this track on this release, because it's a great song, great sound. I can see the connection with the debut record. It has a lot of the same elements. It has a lot of the same DNA, a lot more progressive, a lot more thrashier, very fluid, a song that has great dynamic, that has great movement, very hooky in the chorus as well, both musically and vocally. The bass pops a lot on this track, which adds a technical and a progressive element to the soundscape, into how the song comes across. The vocals sound amazing. They have that ruggedness to them, aggressive and rugged at the exact same time, in terms of how they interact with the sonic experience around it. And then there's some hints of atmosphere that have a little bit of almost of a sci-fi feel to it, which piggybacks really well to some of the atmosphere that we saw in the Silent Call. Even though the atmosphere in the Silent Call had perhaps a little bit more darkness around it, the atmosphere in Master of Life doesn't have that same darkness. But the two elements correlate really well with one another, and I can see why this song perhaps didn't match the DNA of Bionic Swarm, but matches the DNA of this release perfectly well. Specifically, when you look at some of the construction and some of the inner workings of the new track, and then you see this one, you can see the dots connecting really easy between the two. Then the EP closes off with Prospect of Immortality and Transcendence, two live songs recorded in Athens, both original songs from Bionic Swarm, their debut record, and I think it's a nice way of closing off. I've never seen the band live. This is my first experience. You can hear the crowd. I like the fact that the production keeps things raw enough that you can really feel like they are live songs, that they were recorded live. They're not trying to fit them into a mold that gives you almost a more synthetic feel of a live performance, but recorded in the studio. These two songs come across pretty raw from that standpoint, but still really clear and really well defined, that if you're familiar with the original elements, it gives you a lot better window in terms of what this band sounds like in a live setting. And like I said, for someone like me who's never seen them live, I think this is an important caveat of this EP. It gives me a little bit of a taste. It makes me wonder. It opens my eyes a little bit, and it makes me really want to see them live, considering how good these two tracks come across on this release. This is it. Cryptosis, The Silent Call, out December 1st on Century Media Records. Let me know your thoughts on this band. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.